The Sennheiser Momentum 4 and the Sony XM4 are two headphones that most people have a hard time choosing from, and the Edifier 950NB is the budget option that people hope will be a decent alternative to these two. So by the end of this review, I will come up with a conclusion that will let you know exactly where each one stands. Starting with the comfort, Edifier has the most comfortable ear cups by far. There's no competition. This will redefine the meaning of comfort. So if you thought the XM4 was comfortable, well, this will change your mind very quickly. And the reason it's so comfortable is because the depth of the ear cups is only rivaled by Bose or other more expensive headphones. These things are very deep. There's a bit of clamping force here, but it's not that bad. In second place is the Sennheiser Momentum 4, because on the Sennheiser Momentum 4, as on the Edifier, the ear cups are also deep. Now this is nowhere near as deep as the Sennheiser, as the Edifier, but it's still deep enough to beat the Sony XM4. And the XM4 is extremely shallow. I don't quite understand the logic behind this kind of design. It reminds me a lot of the Sony XP900. Very shallow and uncomfortable over long periods. Well, I guess the fact that it was released in 2021 explains why. And now in terms of build quality, the Sennheiser takes it again, because just look at it. It's got the nice fabric on the headband, it's got this metal piece here, and the plastic is hard. And it's not a fingerprint magnet like the Sony XM4, which comes second in build quality. I would have picked the Edifier simply because, I don't know, but the Sony is a lot less likely to scratch. I noticed the Edifier is quite easy to scratch. Yeah, this plastic is quite easy to scratch compared to the Sony. So I picked the Sony to be second in build quality. And in terms of looks, for me, the Sennheiser again takes the win because it looks more contemporary. Whoa. In my opinion, it looks more contemporary, and it's also more classic. It's just a Sennheiser. Looks more professional. And then the Sony comes second. I would have picked the Edifier, but I don't like how the Edifier looks on my head. It looks kind of big. And also, the Sony is more subtle. I like the dark. I just like the bronze branding here. Looks really nice. And lastly, the Edifier. Anyway, so for the controls, I give it to Sennheiser again, because it gives me more controls over a wider range of functions. I can control my noise cancelling intensity on the touchpad by pinching and spreading. Never seen before. And also I like the sensitivity on here better, because on the Sony it's also got touchpad, but it's got some latency and it's not really sensitive. It feels like with the Sony I need to be so much more intentional. I need to press and then swipe, and it makes it feel a bit cheap. It should have the sensitivity in check. And then lastly is the Edifier. It's got some rubber buttons, which I don't mind. One thing I don't like is pressing for 3 seconds. Like 3 seconds of my life gone just trying to change tracks. Like seriously, I got things to do. So it would have been nice if they gave us the option to customize the controls, and so I could do like a double tap for skip forward and triple tap for skip back, like I do with my Sennheiser on my Crusher. And then noise cancelling category, that's the only category where the Sony comes out on top, because it takes it without even looking or trying. And yeah, it's on a whole different level. Sometimes it feels like I don't need this kind of noise cancelling, because it's a lot. Right? It's a lot of noise cancelling here. And also it comes along with the noise cancelling, it comes the pressure, the cabin pressure, which will take some getting used to. And then in second place is the Sennheiser Momentum 4. Yeah, there's quite a big distance between the noise cancelling here and the noise cancelling on the XM4. No, the XM4, the Sennheiser is still very good. It does what I needed to do. In most situations, the Sennheiser will be fine, and I will not feel like I need any more noise cancelling. And it is closely followed by the Edifier 950NB, because the Edifier is very close to the Sennheiser, except it just doesn't cancel the high-pitched noise, the high-pitched frequencies just as well as the Sennheiser, but it still performs very well. It's almost the same. Is there a significant difference between these two? Yep. This cancels, or the Sony just cancels so much more. But again, for me, Sennheiser it's just good enough. And back to the sound quality, I forgot one thing about about the bass. I forgot to talk about the bass. So the bass of the Sony is got some high. It's very emphasized in the highs, and the bass of the Sennheiser is very emphasized in the sub region. So it's got a lot of heft to it. It's got a heavy drop, very heavy. You know, when the bass drops on the Sennheiser, you can feel the impact, and it's wide, it's open. And the sound of the Sennheiser is also open. The Sony sounds a bit confined. Still a good sound stage, but compared to the Sennheiser, Sony sounds a bit close to you, but Sennheiser just opens up. And in terms of details, they both have a good amount of details. And in the Edifier, which came last and least, yeah, not last but not least, but last and least in terms of the Edifier, because they made this headphone so well, and when it came to the sound quality, they just threw it out the window because they decided to remove the bass, and the sound is not very customizable. You have an EQ with like, I don't know, 5-6 different bands, and you got some dials under each band. You got so many things happening on the EQ, but it's all useless because it's ineffective. Yeah, so the Edifier is the worst of them all. The bass requires the most help, because it's like, it feels like you could get more bass out of it, but you can't. That's so disappointing. It's extreme. It's such a tragedy. So if you're a bass head, don't let anybody tell you that the Edifier is bass heavy. You will be disappointed. I'm warning you. Anyway, now for my recommendations. I like the Sennheiser better because it's the most balanced. It just has the better overall performance, noise cancelling, sound quality, the controls and the comfort. It's just the best overall. Followed by the Sony XM4, because it's a Sony XM4. But wait, is there a big margin between the XM4 and the Momentum 4 in terms of sound quality? In terms of noise cancelling, yes, there is, but the noise cancelling of the XM4 is a bit too intense. But in terms of sound quality, yes, there also is quite a margin, because the Momentum is bigger, it's smoother, it's just more interesting and refined. Meanwhile, the XM4 is still good, but the bass can seem a bit muffled. And because that's just a characteristic of high bass, it's muffled, it's big, it's warm, so it's gonna come out as muffled. That's not a bad thing. That's how it's supposed to be if you're gonna have high bass. As for the Edifier, I think if you get it cheap on the sale, as I did, it's actually fun, especially if you can look past the feeble bass. There is some good sound and a bit of sub bass to enjoy. Just don't compare it to any bass heavy headphone. But it is the best option for comfort. I prefer to wear these more often than the XM4, and then followed by the Momentum 4. And then the XM4, it's simply terrible compared to the other two. I advise you don't try wearing it for long if you don't like having the blood supply to your ears cut off. That's it for my video. If you found it helpful, like and subscribe. Goodbye.